live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and on my Twitter feed as well. I don't know how many people watch on the different channels, but we're live on all three. I always do a little bit of an introduction. It's for those that have watched this every week. It's pretty similar every week. I just want to tell everyone what EdTech Live is. So it's born out of a newsletter on LinkedIn called EdTech Times. It's aimed at anybody who's got an interest in education, EdTech, or both. Anyone in a teaching profession or not, if they've got an interest in education and technology, they can join and watch. And it's just a space for me to learn, others to learn, and for guests to share their experiences. So that's what EdTech Live is. Anybody who's watching, feel free to comment. If you comment with a question, I'll get to see it at this end. I'll put it live. And then just before we get into the questions, etc., don't forget to do all that teenager stuff. So subscribe, share, repost, follow us on our YouTube channel. I didn't say last week, but the YouTube channel has also got some content around education data. So it's not just EdTech Live, it's EdTech TV. There's some stuff you can learn there around data as well. So that's the introductions, or the intro to EdTech Live, sorry. What I tend to do now, before I introduce yourself, Laura, I just tell everyone a little bit about how we met. We haven't met face-to-face, have we? We've only met on through technology. We met after, I think after you'd commented on, it was my first proper episode with Thomas Courtley, who I believe you've met previously. And you commented, and I took a look at your profile. So anyone who comments on anything I'm doing on LinkedIn, I tend to have a look. And I looked at your profile and I saw the banner that said "Opportunity begins with education." I was like, I need to get Laura on the podcast because that really resonates with me. So that's my recollection of how we met. Is there anything you'd add? Or does that sound fair?
Well, it was the first episode that I watched live, actually, because I follow Thomas on LinkedIn, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the format. I thought it was very quick but effective, because I learned quite a few things that day that, I wrote down, and I thought I just need to make a comment. And and then you messaged me, so I'm really honored, and I'm happy to be here in this episode. So thank you.
No, it's good to have you. And I learned something new in that episode as well with Thomas. When I watched it back, I learned that his microphone was a lot better than mine. So I sounded really funny. So Thomas was the reason
he has a good one, actually.
Here now, he had a really good setup. It looked like he was in a recording studio or something. So if it's okay with you, Laura, I'm going to jump straight into questions then, and just ask you to tell anyone who's listening a little bit about yourself.
Yes. So, my name is Laura. Is the Spanish way of saying it, because I'm from Spain, but I've been living in the UK for 12 years now. So I came here in 2012, and I've been an educator since. So I've worked in different further education establishments, actually, in different roles, teaching languages. Since 2017, I've been the curriculum improvement team leader in Spanish at Rancho College in Lancashire. And so I teach 16 to 18-year-olds. And until last year, I was as well the curriculum leader for ESOL with adult students. I'm very enthusiastic about education. As you said, opportunity begins with education. That's a really good sentence that resonates with me as well. And I'm enthusiastic about EdTech, and I think that's why I'm here doing this episode.
Yeah, EdTech is booming in this country, isn't it?
Yeah.
I go to Bet every year. And just love the opportunity it presents to network with just like-minded people. So some are educators, some run their own business, etc. I think did I meet Thomas at Bet? I can't remember if I met Thomas at Bet.
I think you told me.
I think I did.
Yes, and I was very lucky to be able to go this year. So I was there in January, and it was really, really good. Yes.
What do you think? Bigger than you expected, or?
Yes, it's a massive event. I didn't. I mean, I thought it was a big.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it was a big event, but it is, yeah, massive, because obviously you have the two sides, the software side in a way, and then
Yeah.
the apps, the platforms, the pedagogical side
Yeah.
as well, which is very, very good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I've done bet as an exhibitor,
All
as a
right.
visitor, and as somebody who was just there to make connections. And
Yes.
it used to. I don't think they do this anymore. It really surprised me how big it was. But when I first did it as an exhibitor, they opened up Saturdays as well. So it was, I think now it's Wednesday through to Friday, and at that time I think it was Thursday through to Saturday. But all that happened on a Saturday was all the local families brought the kids, because there's so much cool tech. So you got it turned into like a technology museum type thing. It was interesting.
All right. Yeah, I really was there for one day.
Yeah.
But I could see the impact of it. Yes. So loads of people, loads of things to see, to do, conferences, workshops. Yes. A lot of providers. So, and as you said, it's a very good networking event. Yes. It's just talking to everyone. Yeah.
If anybody's watching this, you make a really good point there. If anybody's watching this who wonders whether they should go to bet or not, I think a lot of people don't realise it's actually a chance to learn as well. There's a lot of CPD type stuff going on. So that's a really good point to raise.
Yes.
It's
always CPD, yeah, I think.
We've got some comments. So we've got Mateus, who's saying hello from Ireland. So hello, Mateus. Thanks for watching. So it's not a question, but
hello.
I'm glad we've got somebody in Ireland watching. Spread the word, Mateus.
Yeah.
So proper questions then. So let's start with why Ed and Tech. So it's like a two-part question, but the first bit is, what made you take this route?
Yeah. As an educator, I think I've always been interested in EdTech and in incorporating the ideas that I got from EdTech in my practice. And I think I do that because I see a lot of benefits of it. To say some, I think it's very good for collaborative learning, for example, for the students in the classroom, for engagement, definitely, to make it more motivating for them, to communicate with them effectively as well, and even for inclusion as well, because you can have shyer students, that don't participate a lot in class. I mean, that happens a lot with languages, because they need to just participate and speak in Spanish, for example, in my lessons. And if I am using EdTech platforms, they feel more confident as well. Yeah. So I've always been interested in making my lessons engaging, interactive, and obviously easier in a way for the students in that way. So I think EdTech really helps with that, and that's why I started it and I kept it. Yeah.
So the second part to that question is what keeps you here, and I think you've answered that in the first part. So I was going to ask, what keeps you looking at EdTech really?
But I think, sorry.
I was going to say, but I think you covered some of it. But go on, I'll let you go on, because you probably expand on it.
So I think I am still using it because I think it's a field that is just growing. It's like there is a technological revolution in education. I think there are more and more apps, there are more and more platforms. I think it would be full not to, I mean, to stop your CPD in that field. That's why I keep doing it, and because there is nothing but improvement in the field. So I'm always looking for opportunities for CPD and to learn and then implement it in the classroom. So it's just progress, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you've got to. I think so. Somebody was talking to me a couple of weeks back around AI in education, and they've got some concerns around I don't want to use the term lazy because I don't think they use the term, but it maybe de-skilling teachers potentially a little bit, and for that reason they weren't as keen on embracing it. And I ended up saying to them, but I bet you, I hope they're not watching this actually, because they probably, I'll not name them. I ended up saying to them, it's not about whether you do or you don't, it's about getting it right. So technology moves on, and if you don't move with it in some shape or form, you just get left behind. So you've got to continually evolve. And I ended up saying to them, I bet you don't mind technology on a Friday night after you've had a terrible week at work, you've done all your marking, you're really tired, and you order off a Just Eat or Deliveroo, and I bet you don't mind your technology now. And I think it was a light for them. They were like, actually, yeah, I've moved. Like I am moving with the time here.
Yes.
So you're dead right.
Time changes, and obviously the way we work changes as well, and it would be going backwards, no, if we don't embrace it. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that probably leads me really nicely into, when did you realize the impact that EdTech was having or could have on your teaching?
Well, as I said, I think I've always been interested in incorporating it since the beginning of my practice. But what I would say is that the real or the peak moment was COVID. Like, I guess many people experience this because as teachers, we just needed to learn from scratch to teach online. I mean, we were like overnight, we were just teaching from home, and we were teaching online to students, who we always saw face to face.
Yeah.
And I took this time as an opportunity to learn, and I did so many webinars with different providers just to listen to ideas, to incorporate those ideas in my classroom. And I tried different platforms every week, and then I asked students for feedback, because I think that's really important that they give you as well the feedback to see if it's useful, if it's worth it, and see if it's effective. So I think that was the key moment, and also because it was a tough period of time, so I wanted again to make my lessons engaging, interactive for them. It was tough enough to be at home and learning from home and teaching from home, so I didn't want them to miss any learning. I wanted them to be motivated. So I think it had a big impact on my teaching, and then I've just kept it because it can obviously is useful as well face to face. So
I think it was one of the best things to come out of COVID, EdTech.
Yes.
It was one of the best things to come out of COVID. And Matthias, I've got your question. I'll come to it in a minute.
Okay.
It was great to see children being able to access lessons, etc. I had a slight frustration of a parent of two children who were in two different schools around how different the experience was. So my youngest daughter was in a primary school at the time when we first went into lockdown, and her online experience and the use of tech from her school was amazing. She was engaged every day. We'd got calls with teachers, etc. My eldest daughter, who was in secondary school at the time, didn't have a very strong experience with EdTech, and she felt a bit disengaged. So I think it was great that it was a catalyst for change. I'd like to see a bit more. I'd have liked to have seen a bit more consistency, but I think we're catching up. I think I'm seeing more like consistency now.
I think that was the problem as well, that different students had different experiences, and obviously it was not at the same level in a way, and it depended on the educators, the teachers, and how engaged they were as well to learn about it. But yes, it was tough, but I think since then many people have realized about the effectiveness and also the growth, I think exponential growth of the field.
Yeah, definitely. So Matthias has asked us a question, so I'll put it on the screen. Matthias has asked, what do you think are the main trends for EdTech professionals to look out for? I've got a couple, but sorry, I've got one. I've got one and then a desire, I think. But do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go first.
I'm going to cop out a little bit and go for the really obvious one, Matthias. So I think we've got to look out for AI. We have to do that with. We have to do it through a lens that means that we assess it properly, though. I think it's really important. We don't de-skill, and it's there to complement and improve the experience for learners first, and then teachers and senior leaders, etc. But AI is a really obvious one. I don't know if you've got one, Laura.
Yeah, well, AI definitely, and I'm with you on the safety part of it. Like, we need to be sure that we can use it properly. Obviously, for me, in terms of trends, it's just the platforms that are available. And I don't know, I realized when I was in bed that there are so many different platforms and so many different apps that you can use for everything. And all of them, I mean, many of them incorporate AI already in their systems. So you could see like platforms that I've used before that didn't have AI, and now they do. And they help you to plan lessons, and they help you to assess, and they help you to get content. I would say that EdTech, yes, another trend is obviously, as we said, just pet tech, right? So pedagogy, and then the software based as well. That's another thing that I've realized that it's nowadays like very, very available. Yes,
that's a great shout. The transition from EdTech to PedTech, and that first came about on Thomas's podcast.
I learned it from him.
I think you've given me an idea. I think we need to have a podcast episode that is a number of people in the field, and we can discuss that transition from EdTech to PedTech. And then just really quickly, because I said I got a desire, and I feel like you moved me into that. I'd like to see a trend where the gap between EdTech businesses and schools shrinks. So from my experience, I think we sometimes see a lot of feature bashing in demos and that sort of stuff. I'd really like to see us transition to a place where it is more about the needs, wants, and pain points of a school, or a multi-academy trust, whatever. And we can then have a talk around those needs, wants, pain points, and see if there's a solution in the space. And I think we've come a long way with that, but I'd like to see that gap get a little bit smaller. So not a trend now.
More communication, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I shared this on another podcast, and I'm going to get the numbers like drastically wrong here, but I think I read something from Beezer, if I've pronounced that right, and they were saying that they'd done some research where it was something like 20% of teachers trusted the claims of EdTech businesses. 80% understood the value that EdTech could have in the classroom, and that's a big gap to bridge. That a big gap to bridge. I hope that's useful, Matthias.
I think if EdTech organizations, businesses, communicated more with teachers, that would be great. And yes, they would know more their needs, and yes, approach education centers and all that. Yes,
definitely,
that's true.
So in true, this always happens when I do these episodes. We've probably covered some of this in the chat that we're having. But what advice would you give to any educator who's trying to implement something new in the classroom?
I would first of all tell them to be patient, because you don't learn everything in one go, and you don't master everything in one go. Maybe you think that you can, but normally it takes more. So the more you use EdTech, the more confident you get. The same happens for the students. Actually, the more you use it in the classroom, it creates a routine, and then the more confident the students get as well, and they know exactly what they need to do with the platforms, with the apps. Also be open for feedback and ask for it to the students. And I would say share it with your colleagues, because it can be really beneficial, and you can be obviously promoting it in the department, for example. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely love the idea of engaging the students.
And
oh, go on. Sorry, were you going to say something else?
Yeah, no, I was thinking as well about, because you said about one piece of advice, but I'm giving four or something. Is CPD. It just requests for CPD opportunities to your workplace, and just go
Yeah.
and learn as much as you can. Attend webinars, events, conferences, about teaching and learning, about EdTech. There are millions of opportunities. So I think it's just a constant learning for yourself, and it's really it's gonna really have an impact on your practice. So yeah, that's what I would tell, yeah, anyone.
Yeah, it's not the traditional CPD either, is it? You could just, like you say, just go and see something in practice somewhere else.
Yeah,
Bet been a case in
it's
point.
cool. Yeah.
So you've obviously tried different edtech, pedtech, different approaches. Has anything ever gone wrong when you've used edtech or tried to introduce it? And if so, what impact did it have, and how did you get past it?
Yes, obviously things can go wrong, as I said, and you need to try and try. I mean, internet connection, for example, the most obvious. If it doesn't work in your workplace at some point when you want to use the app or the platform, or students don't have access, for example, to the Wi-Fi of the college, that has happened. Obviously, well, I move on to another activity in the meanwhile, but then I go back and just do it. Also, I mean, I teach in further education, which is really good to use with phones. I mean, students using phones in class. What I mean is that it might be easier than obviously primary and secondary.
Yeah.
But we still have our challenges there, because you need to pay attention that they're doing the task, for example, that you tell them to do in class, or that they have battery on their phones. If they say, "Oh, I don't have battery, I cannot use my phone." So those things happen, obviously, and when they happen, I just tell them, okay, so today you are working with this student, and I want you to be engaged with, like, both of you, and take turns with one phone, for example, or you need to try to get ideas to sort that problem. But generally it works, and it's effective, and it's good, and it's quick. That's the thing, is really good for a quick collaboration learning, I think. So yeah, and obviously for independent study as well. If you set a task and they do it at home, another problem is that they don't do it, but you see it. Actually, you see, because you have in the app who has done it, who hasn't done it. That's obviously an advantage, and then you can speak to that student as well.
I like you've got to have a plan B, haven't you?
Yes, always.
Batteries are an absolute nightmare. Phones are a great tool, though, especially for older students.
Yes.
I was involved in a project called Move On, Move Up a few years ago, in a local authority, and in summary, we got a load of vouchers for leisure activity, because we were trying to get children moving more, which is why it was called Move On, and Move Up was about the learning piece. And we give all of the students who turned up on a Saturday for, I think it was an hour and a half, might have been an hour. We give them all chalk pens. We had a big glass wall on the inside of a building, and they did all the revision in like luminous pens on this glass. So they loved that, because it was a bit like doing revision with graffiti. But they then took photos on the phone. So you're talking a few years back, and not as advanced as we got now. But the engagement levels from the students was through the roof.
Yes.
I don't think it was just because they got to go swimming for free. I think it's because they actually wanted to learn. It might have started because they wanted to go swimming for free.
Yeah. Yes, I think it has an impact. Yes, but you also need to be aware of the problems that and I think you learn with experience. The more you use it, you know how to tackle those. Yes. Yeah.
I think the students learn with experience as well, so they probably learn to be more responsible as well, don't they?
Yes, definitely. Yes, they know how to use it, and they get excited, to be honest. Like, okay, we're gonna use this one, this platform, and they just get on quickly. So
So Matthias has asked us another question, and he's asked us, is there not a risk with big EdTech companies pushing into classrooms, creating some form of market dominance within the education systems? I'm a big believer, as a founder of 2 EdTech businesses now, or a co-founder, should I say. I'm a big believer in the market always decides. Maybe I'm a little bit naive, but I can't see a crazy market dominance, because I think the market always decides in the end. That'd be my take on that question. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think educators, leaders, managers, education centers, they still have the power to decide if they want to use a platform they don't want to use, or they have the money for it, or they don't have the money for it. So obviously it's about promoting the EdTech, but wisely, and obviously meeting the needs. And if the different companies don't meet the needs of the educators, I don't think they are gonna just go for it in a way. So I think I'm answering the question, but that's how I understand it. But
Yeah, definitely. I think there could be an episode in that question as well. I'll reach out afterwards, Matthias. We'll have a chat. There might be an episode in that question.
Yeah, exactly.
So if I jump back to the questions we got lined up, so looking back to when you first started and using EdTech, what advice would you give yourself if you could do your time again? What advice would you give yourself?
I think I would tell myself not to try to implement everything at once, and just do it step by step, because sometimes it can get overwhelming, and it's not just for the teacher but also for the students, right? And I think quality is better than quantity. So yeah, at some point in the past I was trying, just to learn a lot very quickly, but then you realize that even when you attend CPD events or conference or things like that, if you get one idea and then implement it, that's effective. Then you move to the next one when you've mastered that one. So it's in a way going to the idea of cognitive overload from teaching and learning, actually, which also works for CPD. So if you try too many things at the same time, it might not be as effective as if you try it one by one. And I think that is what I've changed as well in my practice, and you don't get as overwhelmed or frustrated. And it's more effective.
There's so much shiny new tech out there. It's easy to get excited, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. That's the thing.
And Laura knows this because we've had a chat prior to being on the podcast. But I think I've got cognitive overload today. I was in an airport in Prague at 3:45 this morning, and then straight back into the office when I come home. So if I look a bit tired, I am tired, and probably I'm suffering from a bit
you
of
look well.
Yes. So is there anything you've seen throughout your time working with EdTech, PedTech that's made you go, wow, that's really making a difference for children, young people, young adults?
Well, we've talked about this already. I was actually going to say about the BET event in London is not about an opportunity for me in the classroom, but I can think about something in the classroom. But I think the BET event, the thing is that it gives you the opportunity to see live EdTech and personalized. That's what I liked as well. So because you ask questions straight away to the providers, I was having long chats, with them, and they were actually showing me how to help me and my practice. So I thought that was a very good way of learning with EdTech. And obviously I did my research beforehand, and because there are millions of providers, I just went to the ones that I wanted to have information from. In terms of the practice in class, yes, I've seen many examples during my career, obviously from colleagues or from, as I said, from webinars that I attended and then I've incorporated. I don't know if you want to know specific names or platforms or not.
That's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
if you want to name anything, you can do. I think we've come up with a strapline for Bet as well. So they can't use this without. They're going to have to pay us, I think. So
yes.
Copyright.
Yes.
But next year it could be Bet, the biggest classroom in the world. Something like that.
Yeah. Biggest tech event. Actually, they say they are. But yes.
Was there anything you wanted to shout out in terms of tech?
In terms of names, you mean?
Yeah, if there's anything if you
platforms?
use that other people, there might be some teachers, educators watching, and they go, "Yeah, it'd be really."
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I can say what I use personally and what I've kept. So, I use Mentimeter a lot. I use Padlet. I use Lesson App. I use Edpuzzle. Obviously, Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Whiteboard, and it's a very good way of communicating as well. Kahoots, but everyone knows about Kahoot. So yeah, not sure if I said anything that maybe is new for anybody, but
Padlet is an interesting one. I came across Padlet years ago, and I can remember thinking this would be useful in schools. So it's nice to know that it's been used in educational establishments.
Yes,
I found it really useful.
It is. Yeah. The most recent one was Lesson App. Yes, I learned about it last year, and I've been using it, and it has a lot of features actually. So it's really worth trying.
I'll put a link to everything in the comments, and then I've got to share this comment. It's Tom Parkinson has told me that I look great, so thanks, Tom.
That's great.
Appreciate it. So then, last two questions, and the quick fire. So let's start with one book or podcast, or you can have as many as you want, that you'd recommend to everyone listening, and why.
Yes, so I think for people who are interested in getting there, to be tech savvy, that we say, or to start in the journey of EdTech, I have two options actually, because they are from the same author. One of them is Tasks Before Apps, which is here. It's Monica Burns, actually.
Nice.
And the other one is EdTech Essentials, which, the title says it all, really. It's just the top 10 technology strategies for all learning environments. So I think it gives you ideas of platforms, apps to use.
Yeah.
And it's really effective in that way. So, Monica Burns is a curriculum and educational technology consultant, basically, in the States. So it's at some point you will realize that it's very much based on the education system in the States, but you can always get ideas from technology apps. And the podcast is related to her as well, because she has this Easy EdTech podcast, which is every Tuesday, and she talks to different guests as well. It's on Spotify. Yeah,
I've listened to it, and I reached out to Monica late last year.
Right.
So we've had an email exchange. I tried to get on. I'm trying to get her to come on this podcast. So I'll keep trying. Monica, if you're watching or you come across this, I'd love to have you on. But yeah, very influential in the States, isn't she? Does some really good stuff. And then the second and last question for you really is, I'm sure people have watched this and they're really interested in some of the stuff you've used and how you approach EdTech. Where can people find you? Where's the best place for people to find you?
They can reach me on LinkedIn. Yes, we can make connections there. They can message me. I'm very happy to grow my my how do you say? Well, my connection network. So yes, and yeah, I'm always willing to meet other professionals. Yeah.
So head over to Laura's LinkedIn page if you're interested. Give her a follow or connect. That leaves me to just do a bit of a plea, actually. I've got guests lined up on the podcast every Thursday until the 23rd of May, including the 23rd of May, except for the 2nd of May. So if anybody's watching this and they are interested in appearing on an episode, any educators, EdTech providers, etc., drop me a DM or comment on this episode if you can make the 2nd of May or any Thursday at 4 o'clock after the 23rd of May. Always looking for guests. And then one last thing, don't forget, as I said at the start, to follow, like, repost, reshare, all that sort of stuff. It definitely is the best way to help keep the podcast going. And I've got nothing else to say, no other questions from anyone else other than thanks, Laura. Really enjoyed that.
No, thank you.
Stuff.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks to everybody who watched.